stay. She got time to make way. Cold shutter in a warm embrace.
Hi. So today's guest is Joe Menendez. He is a film and television director. He's been in the business forever, and he's been making movies since he was 7 years old. So he's got a great story, and he's got great advice for people who are interested in getting in the business or people who just want to know more about what it's like to make movies. And we actually grew up together. We both moved to LA about the same time. So we have a little history. He's been a friend forever. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Joe Menendez.
I always tell people that I learned about film through you in a lot of ways because my degree's in journalism, so I was always a writer and whatever. I remember we'd sit there like on the floor and you would sort of tell me what this was and why you cut to here and then what you did there. A lot of what I think I initially learned and knew about film came from those little sessions.
Well, it's because it's about grammar. We were talking a lot about grammar because you were a writer, so I was putting it in terms that applied to what you were doing. Because when you're writing, you know, if you end every sentence with an exclamation point, all of a sudden it has no meaning, right? Well, it's the same thing with a close-up. If everything is a close-up and everything is like this, when you really need a character, you know, to say something serious or something where it's like a moment to land, the close-up has been ruined because you've been shooting everything like this. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you shoot everything like this, you know, or in this two-shot like this, and then you punch in, and then boom,
yeah,
punch
one
in,
little reveal,
and then so now that close-up has significance. It's like if you put an exclamation point at just in one sentence, then it means something.
I think this is your superpower, but you have this ability to kind of condense something into just the little nugget. I remember when I was auditioning when I first started, there was like a scary movie. There was an audition for a scary movie every other day, and I had a hard time with that. I was like, how do I just viscerally look scared without feeling stupid?
What did I say?
Do you remember?
No, I know.
Oh yeah, it was so good though. You said, okay, it starts in the body, so just think about your breathing first. Like if something were to really scare you, just start to put yourself in the physicality of it.
Yeah, because you'll get yourself into a place where you are going. You get yourself, and now you're physically making your body hold its breath or whatever, and then how does that read on camera? But truthful, because you're physically doing something.
It was the solution, and I always knew that you would find your way to doing what you're doing.
I really didn't have any backup plans. Like it was this or nothing. But the other key to it is that even at this old age, I'm still learning every day, every single day. Today, in fact, I did things to like, what can I learn to perfect my craft, so that because you don't want because the moment that I get to the point where I'm like, I'm good, I'm done, at that point I should retire, and then I should go find something else to do. The job doesn't change, but how we are consuming movies and consuming TV shows, that's all changed. But the job itself
and the technology, right?
Oh yeah, no doubt. I kind of wish I had these things when I was growing up. With this, I would have made a movie a day, you know, or two or three. I was one of those that I was making movies when I was a kid from a very young age, and I don't know where it came from. Other than that, my grandmother came down from New Jersey with a movie camera, and they're begging, she finally let me have it, and I just started making movies, and I didn't, you know, and actually I wanted to be an animator because I drew, but the camera that my grandmother gave me didn't have a single frame. Animation, I can't do it right, so I gave it up and I just started doing live action. So I got my brother and my cousins, and we just started making little short films, figuring one day I'd return to drawing, and one day I'd return, and I never did.
Well, when we met, you were doing
it was
the Spanish version of America's Most Wanted. That was kind of a film school in a way, right?
What was great about that show is that from like 1 week to the next, we could come up with something and we could do whatever we wanted. But it was
so you really got paid to kind of experiment, huh?
Well, we never told anybody that we were doing it.
Of course you told. I mean, how much of it is completely like, you know, the layout as to how it's going to go, and how much of it is like what you guys were doing? Let's just try these new things.
Well, but I would plan it though. I do shot list, you know. So, but I do that so that I know what I want to do when I was in the comfort of my office, and you know the movie or the episode in this case that I see in my head, knowing that once I get on the set, I can now throw it all out and do something different.
So see, that's what I'm talking about.
I knew the plan.
Yes,
I knew the plan going in,
right.
And I'm open to if something better comes up or something, that gets the juju going. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go do that. Although on placas, I started, because I did so many of them, I started showing up without doing any kind of prep work, and then towards the end of it, just to throw myself, don't send me the script, cast it, do whatever. I didn't know who the actors were. Like I started doing this at the end just to keep myself interested. It helped because as the producer director on SIREN, there are times that I had to step in at the last second. We had a director last season who got sick. I showed up and I'd gone on the tech scout and all that, so I knew what the work was, but I hadn't planned anything. So, I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and so none of that stuff throws me, but it doesn't throw you if you've got craft.
And you definitely put in your time that way.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the key, because even all these things that you have up here that are your stuff, it's all stuff that obviously is artistic and stuff that came out of your brain and out of your heart, but there's a craft to doing all this.
Yes, that's true.
You can't do all this stuff and just kind of like, I got a brush, let me see what comes up. Like, this took some craft, you know? Yeah. So that's sort of the connector between what you see in your brain to being able to get it, in this case on a canvas, or in my case on television. Right. I grew up very working class kind of neighborhood, so whenever you would talk about art or like anything that artists do, there's a lot of like, what the hell are you talking about? That's just ridiculous. And I think that to this day, there's like a thing in my head that I'm like, I'm not an artist, I'm a craftsman. I know when I'm doing some of these sequences that I'm doing in some of these episodes and some of these films, that when you put it together, it's very artistically put together. But if I went into it thinking, this is what I'm trying to say, I think it would make me self-conscious. I think it's like, I just want to tell the story.
How do you shoot a scene?
Those first initial thoughts and ideas and visuals, those are the ones you want to grab. So I tend to read a script with a pencil in my hand, and then I'll circle something and I'll like write something and it looks like hieroglyphics, but because I don't want to lose that. And then for like us sitting on this table, I might say to myself, like, I want to shoot it from up there looking down, like a high angle. I don't know why, but it just feels right or whatever. So I'm writing all those ideas down. But then when I'm done with it, and now I've had that initial pass, I'll read it again, because now what's the story? Now it's about, okay, does that high angle shot, is that
sort of the story.
Right, all of a sudden, unless it's like the bad guy's coming through the ceiling.
Right.
And then at that point it's like, okay, I understand why there's a point of view.
Yeah.
But the idea is, I'm looking at, it's kind of like the best way to describe to everybody, when you read a novel, you're seeing it in your head, in your brain.
Yeah.
My job is to now be able to, because I'm the director, the thing that I saw in my brain is now to articulate it to everybody. But everybody's reading the exact same script, so everyone's got a different view of what it is. But when you're the director of that episode, or the director of that movie, the only person's brain that counts is yours. Because now it's like you've been hired to say, interpret what this is. So I read it, and now my job is, I've got to bring it to life. And then I'll go to the production designer or the art director, and I'll say, I need a room, I need a table, but make sure that the table's, red for whatever reason, So suddenly it's about what I saw in my brain, telling everybody what I need. And then their job is to serve the director. In the case of television, though, there's an extra step, there's an extra component. Because in television, it's a writer's medium. So the showrunners, who created the show, who write the scripts, it's my job to download from them how they see it. Sometimes you get the situation where a director doesn't see what a showrunner is seeing, and you get the clashing.
Yes.
But in my case, like, we're on, we have disagreements, and I'm like, I think it's this, and they're like, I think it's that, and ultimately I do what they want. On a feature, it's all the director. It's like, it's basically like, hey everybody, because like I'll read the script and then we have a production meeting. Like early, like in day one, where it's a gigantic room filled with people, and it's everybody from the art department to camera to the producers to makeup and hair, and it's basically you do a page turner, and you basically are telling everybody, here's what I see. Unless like a writer will say like, well, if you put it in the rain, they're going to be soaking wet, and that means it's not going to make sense when they go to the other scene, but then they can't be dripping wet. So then you have all those conversations, So, but it's basically, it's taking what's in here and articulate it to everybody else, and then everyone else gives that to you, and I then start going, yes, that's what I see. No, that's not what I see. This needs to be a little bit more like this. Yeah. And then they go off, and then somebody else, okay, thank you, and it becomes that until you're like, there's the thing I saw in my head. Right. And then that's how you move on from a shot. Like when you're working and you're directing, and the actors get up, and then you start blocking with actors. So let's just say that your character is the antagonist, and then I come in as a director, and I'm like, I see you sitting. And then you say like, I think that takes away my power. I think I should be standing.
Show me, yeah.
Show me what you're thinking.
Yeah.
And then if you've cast the right person, which is 80%, 90% of the job is casting the right actor, then you go, oh yes. No, yeah, you should be standing, for sure. And then you alter the thing you saw in your brain. It's still the thing you saw in your brain, but now it's evolved because now you're sharing it with an actor. But there are times that you've got actors that see something completely different. What I tend to do is I tend to block, and then we're like, okay, we all have a general idea. Then you're
so for people that don't know, blocking is when you get a script and
Yeah.
there's like the first day, the actors are on set, directors are on set. You know, people come with their own ideas. Blocking is when you're walking through the scene, and it's really not nobody's shooting. Usually, everybody's eating breakfast and doing stuff. It's just the director and the actors.
Yeah, you go here, you go there, you sit,
And
stand.
you just sort of like block it. Like, "Ooh, let's see," and that's when sometimes it can change for you, where you're like, maybe I'll be over here for. But that's what, that's what that is.
And then, but but you also get situations where it was supposed to be a scene where she ended the scene crying, but the scene started and she started crying early.
Okay.
And so, and it worked, but
there was nowhere to go.
Right. Then it was like let's hold it, and then if the tears come in, then that becomes the coda, the punctuation of the scene, as opposed to like the scene starts here and then you got nowhere to go.
How did you say hold it?
Don't cry. Don't it's more. You've got the script that the writer's written, and you're like, I think if it's here, and then you're literally looking at the words, and then at the end of the day, we all go right back to the words. And what I always say to them, let's just try it. If it sucks, we won't use it. We won't do it. When they feel that a director is taking care of them, like you're basically going, I'm not gonna let you look like like an idiot. I'm gonna take care of you. I'm gonna protect you. But I think it should be this. So let's just try it.
You have the total trust thing going on. Like you never look like somebody that's like, I'm ready to exploit. Like you've never been that guy.
No.
Ever.
But you can't be, because we're talking about it's a human being, and what an actor's doing, the actor's essentially exposing themselves.
Vulnerability.
Yeah.
Very vulnerable.
They're very vulnerable. They're putting themselves out in front of strangers. There's like a bunch of crew guys, like.
See, this is where your sensitive thing really helps.
So I'm always like, get out of the outline. But I've also had those actors that are like, I'm not doing that. What you do, frankly, is if an actor is doing something that you feel it's going to hurt the scene or hurt the episode or hurt the movie, then my job as a director is like, I've got to have enough things to cut away to. It happens so rarely, but on those occasions that it's happened, then you're like,
you're serving a story.
It's like ultimately that's what we're all doing. We're serving a story. So
okay, so what are some of your some tippy tips?
Directors direct, writers write, actors act.
Just go out and do it.
Do it, and especially that all this technology. Again, it's like what happened on Blancas. Experiment. Like it's gonna be things that you'll probably never show anyone. You probably don't want to show anyone. But like you see like a movie or a TV show, and you're like, that was kind of interesting. Do your research. How did they shoot it? And then go off and try to do it. And what's going to end up happening is you're going to start figuring out what your own voice is, what your own style is. But make films. Then the hard part then after that is when you start putting together a sort of body of work that you go, okay, now I can show this. Then it's how do you get people to watch it? How do you wade through it so that you can stand down, do the work, and don't be in any hurry to show your work, because sometimes your work's not ready, and sometimes people show their work when it's not ready, because they're so hungry and eager to make it, to get in there and do the work, because they'll watch a movie or they'll watch a TV show and they'll be like, I can do better than that. And they do something, and because it exists, they think that's
like,
good
I'm
enough.
ready.
You have to be self-critical. This is all beautiful stuff, but I'll bet you up there's stuff that you'll probably never put up on a wall. You have to be able. You have to be able to look at your stuff and go, "This is not ready."
So how do you do that, Joe? How do you do that?
Making more and more stuff, and you have to be able to identify why things are weak, and so you have to have craft, because you have to be able.
See, I remember that about you. You had so many books. We would go through books. I would be like,
now. You should see my.
I think, didn't you have like a list of all the Academy Award winning movies? Like we would do.
I had.
We would just watch movies.
If you're curating your own work and you're looking at it and you have craft and you really hone your craft, you can look at something and go, no, that I should have done, and then improve on the next one. But I'll watch my own stuff, and it seems like it's narcissistic because I'm watching my own stuff, but I'm not going like this. I'm watching my own stuff, and I'm like the field goal kicker, to use a football analogy, who makes 19 out of 20 field goals, but I obsess about the one that I missed. I'm like, why did I miss that? Why was it? Why?
That's why you work as much as you do. Because you're always growing, you're always learning.
I'm surprised by how many people don't do that about their own work. I met a director recently, who I saw the work. She was a ways off.
She wasn't ready, yeah.
She was a ways off from being ready. And what made me sad was that she wasn't aware. I'm ready to go, and you know, why am I not getting opportunities?
So what do
and I'm
do?
like, because it's not my place to go hang it up or give it up. It's more my place to go, this is what I feel that you should work on. And I would get specific, because I wanted to see what she would say. I was like, well, why did you do the thing? And then her answer was always like, well, because I only had an hour to shoot it and it was a limited location.
Oh, that's not an answer.
It's like that, but I don't know that watching it. But if you have the craft, when you're in a time crunch, you'll figure out a way
that makes sense.
Clever. You know, because if you're doing it indie style and you were thrown out of a location and you have to be self-critical and look at it and go, no, that could have been better had I had to. Well, guess what? You should reshoot that scene. Mm-hmm. And when you've been doing it for a long time, you kind of go, you don't have it, or you have it, but you're not ready yet. And maybe you see it when you're doing your classes and you go, they don't have it. Then how do you handle it? You want to encourage them to, at that point, just express yourself. And it's not about the result, it's about the process.
Right.
And
yes,
that's,
right.
But if you're trying to make a career at this,
right.
then we got to have a serious, and I'm like, I'm not qualified to have that conversation with anyone. Like, even if someone asked me and said, you know, do you think I got it? I can't tell someone if, like, you got it. Like, I've been doing this for 27 years. Mm-hmm. You know it. You know when someone's got it. Like, you know it.
What is the it?
There's a point of view, there's a specificity to the work, and the really good ones have singular talent where you can lob the credits off or not see who directed it and know, oh, I know who directed that. Because
it's like that with art.
You look at something like this
There's
and you go,
this
is a Michelle Gomez, this is a Gomez,
yes,
this is a Gomez.
That is so
and that's how you know, and then you get some directors, and I'm sure this happens with art, that you're like, that could have been drawn by 20 different artists.
You need to hear that because the craft, you're developing your voice when you're just doing it.
Right.
Wait, so what's your voice? What
you have to figure out what your brand is. And so what evolved for me, and it was only something that I landed on 10 years ago, where I was like, well, the things that I really love personally, that I love to see genre stuff. I like stuff with spaceships and monsters. You know, I grew up on Spielberg and Zemeckis, and I like that kind of stuff. So if that's the thing that I want to do, then that's how I should brand myself.
Didn't you write a book
recently? I did. In 2012, I self-published it, but it was during that era where I was trying to rebrand myself as being the genre guy. So I wrote a sci-fi novel that I intend to make as a TV series one day. Because the first thing that people are going to look for, who are hiring, is who are you? What are you? What can I say you are? I want to put a stamp on you.
Do you think this goes for actors and
everybody?
It does.
And what happens is
and everybody seems to resist it at the beginning, right?
Here's the thing: let them label you. But by the way, you've got to choose what the label is because everyone's looking at the labeling.
Yeah, you do.
So you have to be able to put it out there. I think the mistake is artists early on try to broaden and do a number of things early. Right. And it's like pick the one area that you're really great at, and then let yourself be labeled at. Because if you have success down the road, then you could broaden and you could do different kind of things.
Find your voice, hone your craft.
Brand yourself.
Remember when I was emotionally unavailable girl? He probably has had a better run of it, but do you remember when we had the conversation where we were like, okay, we were all like babies. If we're 30 and we're not married, we'll marry each other. And I was so emotionally unavailable that I was like, oh my God. That
became a premise for something that I wrote. I wrote a script. I wrote a script about that. We never got it made, but my partner and I wrote a script about that.
Because I was like,
that's where the idea came from.
I'm always like, Joe's the best guy ever. I always think that is so sweet because that is so like, we turn whatever we experience into something. Right, I mean, I can't tell you now. I think my work looks the way it does because of the journey.
Of course, yeah.
And one last thing, because it's been driving me crazy all these years, Hitchcock. Been obsessing for a long time. But what's the one where it goes...
The dolly zoom reverse shot? Yeah. The camera's sitting on a dolly with wheels and it's pushing towards someone. It's physically getting bigger, or it's physically moving towards the actor. But if that lens is all the way zoomed in, and as you're pushing in, now you're zooming out, it messes with the background. So suddenly the actor remains the same size, but the perspective on his face is changing and the background is changing. But Spielberg did it in Jaws, and it's like when Roy Scheider sees that he's sitting on the chair on the beach and he sees the little boy getting everyone knows, like if you go, I want to do the Hitchcock shot, everyone goes, oh yeah, I got it, you know.
Okay. So thanks, man.
Oh my God, thank you for having me.
The Hitchcock.